So I want to talk about the reading mess next. In this theme, we have some experts come on to really unpack the horrific tragedy. And this, as you know, honey, was one of my points of entry into this entire vein of conversation, because I was seeing kids in middle school who were not being given any opportunity to learn to read, and then being told that they just have low reading achievement data. But really, this comes from the fact that the nation's first and second grade teachers who really hold this esoteric knowledge of how to teach the foundations of reading, because after second grade, we're doing something qualitatively different. It's a very different situation what we're doing to support reading after second grade. These people, they don't have any power to lead any of the decisions. And the people at district office, the school boards, they don't have any experience teaching reading. It's gross. It's a profound problem, and it's why we have piss poor literacy rates in America.
I mean, I just think it's also one of those things that maybe the public takes for granted, especially those with the privilege of having a good education, being able to read at an early age. There's a privilege that comes with that. And I talk a lot about privilege in my class and really try to make transparent the situation. And one of those is something that people take for granted, and that's reading. Like, most adults assume, adults, they can read, but I've looked at the numbers, and we are very, very high in regard to adult illiteracy. That means there's a huge chunk of our populace, adults, who are functioning fine. And don't get me wrong, like, it doesn't mean they're failures in life. It just means at some point someone failed them. And the reality is we've got a lot of adults out there who really can't read. Now, I teach high school, so I don't see it as much, but I also traditionally have taught English learners, and I've had a number of students come from impoverished areas who are illiterate in their native language and, of course, in English. And so I've dabbled in this, and I can say, at least at the high school level, I don't really see too many reading interventions happening outside of maybe special ed classrooms or English language development classrooms. But they're there. I have kids every year who are questionable. It's questionable.
Well, I mean, the idea here is, if you're not in special education, why would you need reading intervention, which is help if you're far behind in reading? Because K12 should, by the time you're in high school, because K12 should have done its job by now. There is a profound lack of understanding. There are children being matriculated all the way through high school that cannot read.
Yeah.
And it is an embarrassing problem. And I kind of feel, when you and I are punk asses, but I kind of feel sometimes it's intentional. Like, there are people, elite people somewhere that are like wringing their hands like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Yes, don't read. Don't be literate. Yes, yes. I mean, it really sucks.
Yeah.
It's a profound problem, which brings us to the canned curriculum mess, which is one of our favorite messes to complain about. Boo! Hiss! I don't name the canned curriculum companies, the big textbook companies, because I don't want to get sued by them. But there's really only like 4 or 5, right? And they tend to like volley for top dog. And the one right now that is in the top is the one that's being shoved down my throat. And this company is going to clear $2 billion in profit this year. And we are in the bottom quartile of the world for literacy rates. Clearly they fail. Take it away, Shawn. What do you want people to know about canned curriculum?
It's always a part of every school, right? There's always a book room with a series of textbooks. And the sad part is, traditionally, you look at most of these textbooks, they're just rotting in there. I've seen warehouses in school districts that are just like burn piles of old books. And so a lot of money is being spent on this stuff. And traditionally, wherever I've been, my department, my school stance was one where here's this textbook, here's this curriculum that they gave us. Take what you need from it. It's a good resource, maybe. And I've used textbooks before. I've used anthologies. But the understanding has always been that, like, you're the experts in the room. Use this curriculum the way that your expertise sees fit to use this to enhance the experience of your kids in the classroom. Now, things have changed a little bit, especially since, high stakes testing, SBAC, and all that stuff kind of came into play and has a lot of political meaning, not just academic meaning. There's a real push to fulfill these nebulous requirements that the district management is telling us, hey, we need to have something to point to, basically. Like we're Common Core, this book, this textbook, this chapter, this page, you can look it up. It's all referenced. It's easy. And now there's kind of a real push for scripted stuff and even more now, AI. We used to have, for example, summer school in my district, traditional summer school, where if a kid fell short of passing during the year, they were signed up for summer school. It was 6 weeks. It was a regular class, and they'd get a semester's worth of credit. Now it's all computerized. So you have a teacher in the room because of formality, although I foresee that going away pretty soon, with 80 kids instead of 30, and they're all doing different things on the computer, and Mr. Robot is their teacher, and that's sort of the wave of things. So, I think that canned curriculum may have morphed into AI, but it's still sort of the same thing. It's the constant push to save money, to eliminate real human jobs, and to make our kids into lever-pulling, button-pushing consumers.
You know what? I hear what you're saying about saving money, because what the alternative is what we argue for in our petition, which we're going to talk about next, which is teacher leadership over our own profession. Teachers make our own curriculum. But textbook companies are actually pulling in billions of dollars in profit for crap that does not work. And the reason why it's being proliferated, I saw it start, Shawn, when I was in that first high needs district, where we were like, okay, we acknowledge we don't have enough veteran teachers. Like, that was the whole beginning of the PD, that when we were given this canned curriculum, dense scripts. Okay, so since we don't have veteran teachers, instead of dealing with why we don't, here's a dense script.
Yeah, we're just going to make teaching color by numbers.
Yeah, color by numbers. And we have the money to pay for these denser curriculums because of the weird step and column system. Our teaching population in our district is all brand new. So we're saving a ton of money, right? And so the canned curriculum companies in this for-profit weird juggernaut that is canned curriculum in America, they learned they can make a lot of money charging school districts for dense curriculum. And so now I'm not in a high needs district. I'm not in a district that's impacted by the shortage. But I saw these companies come peddle their baloney our way, sell them to the district and say verified curriculum and teach it with fidelity. And when it came down into my high achieving district that I'm in now, I told everybody, I'm like, you wait, they're going to be coming in to make sure we're doing the paint by numbers teaching. Oh no, we'll say we're doing it and then we'll do right by the kids. I said, they're going to expect that we're going to do this exactly as it's been laid out. And sure enough, that's exactly what's happening right now.
Well, and it was always seen as sort of like an inside joke amongst teachers. You go to a teacher conference and they have a ballroom set up with tables and all the vendors, the textbook companies that are trying to lure people in. And they would, I would always just get a bag and fill it with free candy and pencils and rulers and all the free stuff that and take a little sample. And then we laughed it off and went, look at that crap, But now they don't even have to do that. They have districts knocking down their door saying, hey, we need to raise SBAC scores because local housing prices are based on those scores. Mm-hmm. It's good for the economy. So let's throw all this money at, what was once just a book, those books that filled dumpsters and burn piles. Now it's just Chromebooks and AI and apps that they're selling. It's the same, a wolf in sheep's clothing. It just looks different. And with AI, it's even more easily maneuvered into a school because you don't even have to wait for physical books to show up. Here you go. Right?
Absolutely. And this gets into the K12 governance mess, which then bleeds in perfectly to the petition, which is this, like, the school boards and superintendents don't sit in their seats long enough to be called to account for the fact that the crap that they spend money on does not work. It doesn't work. And these school boards, these local, micro-local control, like we're hearing right now, everybody's talking big talk about shutting down the U.S. Department of Ed. And part of that conversation is good because we're finally acknowledging the failures of K-12 education, but we're blaming the wrong people. And that is Mo scratching. Hey, Mo. He's so cute. But anyways, it is the problem. The problem stems from local control. And these school boards, they're constantly rotating and changing seats. They don't have any experience in our field. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have access to the information that they need to. It's all being filtered through the superintendent. And it is leading into widespread lack of accountability. And really, and this is what Dr. Paul Bruno and I talk about, is an inability to even begin to characterize the problems on a state level, much less a national level. Like when I could not even get at the national literacy rates for this country from the CIA, who was able to get it for all the other countries. Like it's a serious lack of cohesive accountability and reporting of our issues. So that gets us to the petition. So when I talk about the petition, honey, a lot of times, like when I talk about it with teachers, they always go, what? No, that could not happen. Or when I talk about it with people outside of our profession, they go, wait, what? You don't have that? And it all really started when I was reading one day something that Diane Ravitch wrote, educational scholar in our field. Okay, so K-12 teachers are the only profession in America today that don't have a national governing board. And I just let that sit with me for a while. And I was like, oh, wow, wait a minute. So the American Medical Association gets to set its own standards of practice and board of ethics and decides what doctor preparation should look like. And something is similar happening for lawyers and all these other professions in America. And we don't have that. It's not only that we don't have a seat at the table and it's being populated by non-experts, we're not even there at all. Only non-experts are calling the shots. The K-12 subcommittee of Congress is probably the most powerful institution at the federal level, and they have no experience. Kevin Kiley has no experience teaching in the classroom, but so that's our problem, is how do we create something, and how did our profession get established in the first place? Well, it was established by Congress in the 1830s because under the noble goal of, hey, we have a democracy and we got a bunch of people here who don't know how to read. We got to figure that out. In ancient Greece, the example we borrowed from, everybody who was a citizen could vote because they really made that citizen a very narrow definition of wealthy landowning men. Now we're going to say all these people can vote, but yet they can't read. How are we going to create this system? We'll pay women a third of the salaries of men to make this work. But the problem was women at the time could not vote, own property, or sign contracts. And you as a man in our profession today, and all men, are all still receiving the brunt end of this structural sexism that was baked into our profession. So what we're saying to Congress is, and we need 100,000 signatures on the petition, which you're not going to get bothered for money, and we're not going to sell your information to anyone because it's all done in-house. We haven't used any of those cringy petition platform makers. So that we can say, Congress, establish a K-12 educator governing board. Let us be released for part of our day or up to 2 years to serve at site, district, county, state, and federal levels of leadership. You need some expert voice in this work. We have huge problems in K-12 education, and our very ability to effectively self-govern desperately hangs in the balance. I don't know that many people would disagree with that statement. We're kind of a mess. We need the best of us to lead us forward into the problems, the big problems that we have to face. And so that's what we're saying is, let us lead. Give us a seat at the table. What do you think, honey?
I mean, I think people would look at teaching and say, wait, there's a lot of teachers groups, and what they don't understand is, like NTE, CTEA, all these organizations are just advocacy groups, maybe lobbying groups, but they don't have any say in the way that things are run. That's the Department of Education, which is slowly
Right.
being whittled down.
Right.
Because we have people in charge who think that it should be states' rights, and we have people at the state level who think that it should be district to district. And that's what I think I want a lot of people to know, is that from district to district, even districts that are neighbors, you can get a very different experience
That's
depending
right.
on who's in charge, depending on the populace, depending upon all sorts of things. And what that means is that, you know, people are selective, and you have people leaving undesirable areas in droves and moving to other places where their kids can get a decent education. And that leaves kids who don't have options, the poor, maybe kids who don't have that sort of ability to just pack up and move to a better district, kind of in the mud. And so I think definitely that trying to consolidate things a little bit, even at a state level. If they want to do that, you don't want to go federal, you don't want to have a mess like the Department of Education, then give us sort of a state governing board made up of teachers that can make decisions. Because right now, it's superintendents, it's administrators at the site level making these decisions, and some of them haven't been in the classroom very long at all, if ever. I mean, ultimately, what people don't understand is that superintendents and people at district office, they call themselves educators, but as soon as they take that desk job, they become politicians.
And they taught for a very short time, a very long time ago, and usually they're making decisions about, well, they're making educational decisions about grades and subjects they've never taught. And they don't have the humility, right, to ask veteran current teachers. And let me say this too, that like even site-based admin who maybe taught a long time, but they haven't taught since COVID lockdowns, and they haven't taught in this post-pandemic world, they're irrelevant to a lot of the decisions. I mean, come on. Teaching is so different. And you really need to have a lot of experience in this post-COVID world.
Well, and, you know, going back to our point that administrative jobs, you know, I feel bad for them because it's an impossible job. And part of that job means that they don't get to visit the classroom as much as they should.
That's right.
Unless they're at a small school, right? Elementary school teachers maybe can more often, but at a school where I work that's huge, a huge school, it's hard for them to just pop in and see what's really going on in classrooms so that they can have a truly informed perspective on things. They are operating in cubicles. We are operating in tandem, but we are often not operating together.
And, you know, they don't have tenure, so they can't speak truth to power. Yet they have the power to speak up, but they can't use it. And a lot of what we do in education is just like this piles and piles of box ticking and hoop jumping to make things look right on paper so that if we're audited, we have all of our ducks in a row, but none of it, and that even includes what we're doing in California, these LCAPs, none of it is equating to improvement of the student experience or the teacher experience on the ground floor. Like, what we want to do is make authentic, real reforms to make things better. Things are bad, and you're not getting the complete story. Our world is so bizarre. I'm working right now, as you know, with an education reporter on a long-form journalism piece. And this is a person who has a PhD in journalism, who's been an education reporter for years, and she still doesn't know what she doesn't know. And every time I try to explain something to her as her informant, she has to go back and do a ton more research. Our world is that bizarre, guys. If you're a teacher, you understand. It's got to be us. We need you to come on the podcast. This podcast is for all of America, but it is the voice piece of teachers. Please come on and email us. Tell your story. We've got to get 100,000 signatures on this petition. We are trying to save K12 education. We're trying to stand up and for a high-quality public secular education in this nation and in defense of the U.S. Department of Education. But we want to be involved. We want to roll there, too.
I agree. I think that, you know, you should sign this petition, and don't worry about spam mail or anything like that. It's not connected to any services. So sign, tell your friends, sign it. Let's see if we can get something really going on so we can get some movement. We can start moving forward rather than running in place like we've been doing for decades now in American education.
We love you, America.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. You can help this vitally important movement by signing our petition found at K12confidential.com, liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on Instagram.